Welcome. I'm going to turn it over to Adrian for today's presentation. Adrian?
Yes, thank you, Susan. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Adrian Kroll. I'm Assistant Director of Quality here at North Carolina State University, IES. And so I'm really excited to talk with you about prompt engineering and AI agents, particularly for manufacturers. But I think you'll find some things, even if you're not in manufacturing, that you can take away from this. So we have a lot to walk through. So I'm going to jump right in. All right, so you're looking at this picture and either you're getting very hungry or very disgusted, right? If you don't like PB&J. But probably by this point, many of you have probably heard or seen some version of the peanut butter and jelly experiment. So it started several years ago with a teacher that asked her class to write down how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then she proceeded to follow their instructions exactly. No assumptions, no context. And so, what do you think happened? Exactly. She ended up spreading jelly and peanut butter on bread that was still in the plastic wrapped. And then she smeared them all over her arms because one student's instructions just simply said, put on peanut butter and jelly, right? And so, of course, the kids are shouting, that's not how you make a sandwich, right? But she pointed out to them, I did exactly what you told me to do. And that's really the heart of what we talk about with prompt engineering. You know, when you work with AI, it's very much the same way. It's not enough to say what you want, but you have to clearly describe why and how and what for. Just like those kids' instructions were incomplete, a prompt that lacks clarity is also going to produce messy or vague or unexpected outcomes. So when you're crafting precise prompts, adding things like context, you're going to guide the tool to give you something that's a lot more useful and less confusing. All right. So that's at the heart of what we're going to talk about to start out with today, prompt engineering. So a basic definition of a prompt, let's just start there. Most of you are probably familiar with this. A prompt is simply the message or question that you type into the tool to tell it what you wanted to do or what you wanted to talk about. It's the basic building block of everything else we're going to talk about this morning. And so prompt engineering is really the art of crafting effective instructions to help you get more accurate, useful responses from AI tools. So a clear prompt is going to give you more useful responses. Okay. And so why does that matter or why is it important? Well, really, just like with anything, garbage in is garbage out, right? A vague, confusing prompt could lead you off topic or it could be inaccurate. All right, so the more we can build well crafted prompts, it's going to boost your productivity and help you yield more usable results. It'll also help reduce hallucinations. So you've probably heard that term out there related to AI. A hallucination is basically simplified. It is basically a response that you get or an output that you get that seems usable or it seems like it makes sense, but it's not really grounded in anything that's useful. So having more context will help limit hallucinations, and also grounding it in specific context will help too. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. The difference too between a mediocre answer and really a game-changing answer is just a better prompt. All right, and you'll see that too as we go through. Once you understand prompting a little bit more, you can build prompt libraries, right, for your teams that help ensure people get similar results. So good quality results to kind of standardize for different uses. And then stronger prompts, like I said, are the prompting is the building block. So it's going to help fuel the custom GPTs and the agents and the workflows that we'll talk about more today. All right. All right, so what makes a good prompt? All right, so really, if you keep these six things in mind, you're always starting from a good framework with building a good prompt. So understanding the task, try to use action verbs, and many of you are probably already doing this now. So things like generate this or give me this or write that. But then also feed it some context. So you want to limit endless possibilities. Remember, these large language models, now we're going to mostly talk about ChatGPT this morning, but if you're using other tools like Copilot for Microsoft or Gemini for Google, it is pulled. These large language models are pulling from vast amounts of information on the internet. So we want to limit some of those possibilities of responses. So what's the background? What does success look like? What environment? If you can, the more context you can feed it, the better. And then if you can, try to use examples. All right. So if there's a certain format that you want, that you've seen it in, or that you like to have it, give it an example. That's always useful. And one thing that I really love too is the personas. So what do you want the AI to be, or who do you want the AI to be? So just think of someone that you wish you might have access to for that particular task. So, for instance, if you're asking a legal related question, you can tell AI, act like a lawyer. Now, you might not want to execute everything. Don't take it for legal advice, right? But right, so just be careful exactly what you get from that. You want to trust but verify, right? But you could ask it that, or even things like, hey, act like a HR generalist and help me work through this particular scenario. So you can assign it a persona to help you as well. And then format. So what do you want the end result to look like? Put it in a table, put it in a table with 3 column headers. Again, that kind of goes along with examples. And then lastly, tone. So what feeling do you want to elicit from that response? Casual, formal, enthusiastic. And the tools have gotten so good now, to where they will, a lot of times it'll give you a response and then it'll come back and ask you, do you want me to reword this in a slightly more casual tone or more professional tone? And as you use these tools, they learn more about how you respond. And you can even customize it to respond in your tone, right? So any way that you can tailor that is helpful. All right, so if we put it all together, what might it look like in a prompt? All right, so let's say I'm developing a prompt for an email that I want to send to my boss. So let's say you are a production supervisor for an assembly process. That's the persona. And you are having continuous issues with poor quality related to frequent turnover of staff. That's your context. Okay. Write an email to your boss, Stephanie Tanner, sharing this news. That's your task. That's the action verb. Write this. This email should not be too long and should be conveyed in a positive and confident tone. So again, that's tone, but it's also a little bit of format. And then use a format like the following. So I'm giving it an example format so I can blend those together. And so this would be the prompt that I actually put into the tool to use instead of just saying, help me write an email to my boss about turnover, right? That vague prompt, you could get anything, but with this, you'll have a lot more customized version. All right. So let me give you a few frameworks, right? So I told you those 6 things are really what you want to keep in mind. And as long as you have those 6 things that we just ran through, that's going to be useful. But I like to just provide some in prompt engineering frameworks that are out there. Frameworks can help you build better prompts without guessing. So I've given you the most common ones that are out there that you often see in a manufacturing context, to help give structure. All right, so unfortunately, we won't have time to walk through all of them, but I'll pull out a couple that we can just kind of walk through, and I'll show you the difference in a vague prompt versus using a framework like one of these. So we're going to talk about 4C, that first one, which is perfect if you're using structured manufacturing requests like creating a procedure or creating a checklist. And then we'll walk through Rails. Rails is the role, action, information, logic. Sometimes people use limitation there instead of logic, and then style. This one is really helpful if you're building a prompt that's going to simulate a subject matter expert. Okay. All right, so let's walk through these and just see the difference. So let's start with a really vague prompt. Okay, I want you to write a maintenance procedure for torque wrenches. It's not wrong, right? And you're absolutely going to get something if you put this in, but it leaves the AI guessing. And again, 9 times out of 10, because the tools have evolved and gotten so good, it'll probably come back and ask some clarifying questions anyway, right? Like what type of torque wrenches, or what format, what level of detail. So I'm going to show you. Let me get out of here and let me just pull up an example, because I did this before the webinar. So when I put in that prompt, write a maintenance procedure for torque wrenches, this is the output that I got. Okay. All right, so again, not bad, but notice it's very, very generic, right? At all total, it's 3 pages. And so it's a good place to start, right? So at least you have something. All right, but now let's take it and just rev it up a little bit using 4C. All right, so remember 4C stands for context, command, constraints, and clarity. So I'm going to give it a little bit more context. You're a maintenance engineer writing documentation for a precision machining company that uses mechanical and digital torque wrenches. So I've given it a little bit more context. They're used daily and it must meet AS 9100 requirements. So for anyone that's not familiar, AS 9100 is a quality management system for aerospace and defense. So again, I'm also telling it, hey, we're a AS certified company as well. All right, and then here's my command: create a detailed step-by-step procedure. And then I'm also going to give it some constraints. So this is what I want the format to look like. I want it to address both types of wrenches and then include some other things and ensure it's suitable for training new maintenance staff. And then here's some clarity as well. The final output should be professional, clearly formatted, avoid jargon, and so forth. So now you could absolutely take what you see here on the left and put it right into the tool, and it's going to give you an output. But if you wanted to just kind of fluff it up a little bit, or, make it look pretty, you could take it and organize it into a final output, like you see over here, a final prompt on the right. And so if you're sharing prompts between teams and groups, you might want to just use a final output that's already formatted. But again, either one of these would work. Okay. And so let me show you what that procedure looks like. Okay. So this one, automatically you kind of notice right off the bat, it's got a little bit more detail, right? We told it what format to put it in. And then what's one big thing you notice? Now we went from 3 pages to 6 pages. And so now the length of pages may not necessarily mean a better procedure, but it's definitely telling you there's more detail, right? It gives me a little bit more in terms of roles and responsibilities. All right, so just a little bit better output. Okay. Again, you might not want to take it and use it exactly as is, but it gives you more to start with. And very similar thing if we look at Rails. All right, so I'm giving it a role: act as a certified industrial maintenance technician. Again, I'm telling it we're AS certified. But now I've also added in my audience. So I want you to write this for shop floor maintenance staff and quality personnel who need clear work instructions. I'm giving it intent. And then once again, I'm giving it limitations. So what's within limits and then what's outside of limits. And then I'm giving it a style or a format. Okay. So again, I could take this that's on the left, put it right into the tool. If I want to zhuzh it up a little bit, I can put it in a final prompt format like this, and you'll get a very similar output. So let me show you what that looks like. Very, very similar. All right, so now it's organized it title, purpose, looks very similar to what was in 4C, but now I have a step-by-step procedure. It's added in preventative maintenance, storage and handling. My calibration is added in detail. Now, I said nothing about ISO 17025, but it's recognizing, hey, this is the standard for laboratories and calibration houses. Hey, so make sure that you have it NIST traceable standards for calibration. So it's pulling in that information. And so again, we've gone from 3 pages to 5. All right. So you see, just having a framework to start from really helps you with knowing how to move forward and having a more useful prompt than just something vague. All right. But now I want to talk about something I like to call the game changer prompt. Okay, this is not out there, and this is just Adrian's personal term for this, right? So sometimes the hardest part I find of prompting is that you just don't know what you don't know, right? So you're not sure what details matter, and so you spend a lot of time, you waste a lot of time guessing. All right, so that's where this game changer prompt comes in. I like it because this one phrase turns the AI into a coach and actually helps you learn how to build better prompts. And the sentence is simply this: before you answer, what other information do you need? And it's going to transform your AI from just something that's taking orders from you to actually collaborating with you. All right, so let me show you an example of how you might use that. So let's imagine your company is considering expanding into aerospace. It's a big leap, right? You might think about maybe I have new customers, new certifications, I'm going into new markets. So I don't even know where to begin. A really vague prompt to ask AI, ambitious but vague, help me create a marketing plan to enter the aerospace sector. And again, you're probably going to get into this back and forth with the tool. Okay, well, give me these 5 things and then I can give you a better response, right? But just by adding in that one question before you answer, what other information do you need? Is going to transform how that works. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Let me take this prompt and I'm going to enter it into ChatGPT. All right. And again, it's going to work much the same way if you're using Copilot or Gemini or Grok, whatever tools you're using. And so just like that, I'm asking it to help me. And now it's telling me, okay, in order to build your marketing plan, I need you to come back with the following things. So what are you offering? What does what's your target customer types? Some of these things I may not have even thought to ask it, right? But it's helping me, it's collaborating with me. Tell me more about your geographic focus or your reputation even and assets. So it's walking you through all the information that it needs. And then it tells you, once I have these, I'm going to create for you a full strategy, a 12-month marketing campaign, a buyer persona map, and a LinkedIn content calendar, right? I mean, that's amazing, right? So things that I wasn't even thinking to ask it, it's telling me it can do this for me. So that one prompt can really, I call it the game changer because it has really helped me a lot with learning how to prompt. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the webinar and let's move on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna just check my chat, make sure there are no questions. All right, good. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so just to summarize, clear prompts are going to equal better results. Use your frameworks as tools in your toolbox, right? So hopefully by now, for those of you that are starting to play around and use AI a lot more frequently, you're probably building a toolbox. So use those frameworks as one of the tool sets in your toolbox, and just practice using some real life scenarios. All right, so let's switch gears into agents and talk a little bit about building agents. All right, so an AI agent at the heart of it is really just a system that can take actions on your behalf using AI. So whereas before, maybe you started out prompting, you would ask it for something, it would give you back a result. Now you're moving to where the AI is actually taking action on your behalf without you having to get involved throughout the process. So that's based on whatever instructions or goals or prompts you give it. So think of it as like a digital coworker that's going to follow rules, it's going to learn your patterns and help you get work done automatically. So in manufacturing, that could look like maybe automating routine tasks, like pulling data if there's certain data sets you need to pull on a regular basis, or checking supplier scores for you, or even preparing reports for you overnight. They're autonomous. I've seen people build agents that can actually go out and order airline tickets for you for an upcoming trip, or it can make hotel reservations for you. So it's gonna be autonomous. It's gonna read the data and reason and take actions on your behalf. Okay. So now for this webinar, we're just going to touch on at a high level some of these agents. We're not going to get into really complicated agents, but I will show you some other tools that are out there that you could use. So it's important because it's going to help reduce your manual work. A big part of it is to use it to augment your team. All right. So again, we're looking at AI not to replace people, but to augment people. And then it'll help you scale across shifts and across locations. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about in terms of agents is what we call a project workspace. A project workspace keeps all your conversations, files, and instructions for a specific project or topic. It's going to act like a digital binder, okay, or a project folder. Can it be considered an agent? Kind of, not really on its own. The folder itself is not an agent, but it can contain and organize agent-based tools, right? So like your frameworks, files that you upload, and so forth. All right, so let me show you an example of what, and I have a little note there about Notebook LM. If we have time, I'll show you that too. But let's build a custom team workspace. All right, so I'm going to go back into chat. All right, and if you this should work whether you have the paid version or the free version of ChatGPT. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But you should see over here in your on your sidebar, there's something called projects, and you can actually create a new project. Okay, and when you hit create, it'll come up and ask you for a project name. You can assign it a category if you want to, it's not necessary. And then I would take a look at the memory, because it can either pull from memories from outside chats, so chats that are outside of this folder, or you can set it so that it's only accessing chats and memories from within this folder. Okay, so that's important, but it's going to tell you once you set it, you can't change it later. So just keep that in mind too. All right, so I'm going to create one. Now, of course, I already did this just so I could, for demo purposes. So I created a team workspace. So this is our quality management system team at IES. So I created a workspace for onboarding. And what I was able to do was add files. So our standard our SOPs, our work instructions, things like that, presentations about the day in the life of an improvement specialist at IES, things like that. I was able to upload as files, and so this folder, while it may at times pull from the internet, is primarily going to pull from the files you have put in this workspace. Okay, that's where it's starting from. And then if you notice over here, you can actually feed it instructions. So I'm saying this chatbot is going to be used to onboard new team members, to give instant answers. I gave it a tone. Anytime somebody uses it, respond politely, friendly, welcoming tone. And I wanted to also prompt if whether or not someone wants just kind of a new hire 90-day, what to keep in mind as a new employee. All right. So I gave it a name, I added files, I gave it instructions. And so now let's say I'm a new employee and I come in and I want to say, I'm just going to start chatting with this workspace within this workspace. So I am a new improvement specialist. Tell me more about my role. All right. And then it should be pulling from everything it knows that's available in those files. So it's saying, hey, welcome aboard. As a new improvement specialist, you're stepping into a dynamic, rewarding role in the organization, right? Which is fun. It's going to feed to me what my core mission is. You're just going to serve as a coach and as a trainer, helping manufacturers in North Carolina. It's pulling through and getting all of the key responsibilities that we have. And notice it's giving me, it's also telling me where it's pulling that information from. So it gives you the exact SOP that it's pulling from, right? And so this is what I mean by reducing hallucinations, right? It's not going out to the internet. It's pulling from the data I gave it. So it has more context. And so it's grounded in real world data, which is really helpful. All right. And then who you work with. We work with regional managers, we work with third-party contractors. And just for fun, it even gives you here's the mindset of an improvement specialist. And then just like I put in the instructions, every time somebody enters a prompt for the first time, I wanted to ask, would you like me to give you a 90-day success summary? And so every time when someone enters for the first time, it's going to give them the option to print out a 90-day success summary for everything you need within the first 3 months, right? So let me just say yes. And if it'll generate it quickly, I'll show you what that looks like. If it takes too long, we'll move on. But yeah, so it gives you in the first 90 days, here are some of the things that you might need to be aware of. So now I've created a workspace that if I'm anybody that I'm onboarding, they can find information on their own without having to read through every single SOP if they have a quick question, or without having to, find you as the supervisor or manager, right? So that's just one example of how you could use that workspace. Okay. So again, you can create them for all sorts of things: onboarding, projects that you're building, team folders are really helpful. All right, so let's switch gears and talk then about custom GPTs. And so GPT, for those that don't know, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. All right, so it's a subset of it's a large language model that's pulling information from a source. And so custom GPTs, think of them as kind of personalized team members or personalized assistants that you can build without having to know how to code. You set the instructions and the tone and the knowledge set. All right. So you could have an agent. So think of the broader ChatGPT or the broader Microsoft Copilot or Gemini, right? And so within ChatGPT, I'm going to create my own GPT, right? That's just for a specific use case. All right. So that's what we're doing here. All right, so let's walk through how to build one of these together. So now I've done this in Chat and I've done this in Copilot. I have not done this in any other tool. Okay, so I can give you those two perspectives. And Copilot and Chat are the windows I'm about to show you are very very similar. So all right, so if I'm in Chat GPT, you should. Okay, now let me caveat this. You can do this. Typically, this is in the paid version. Okay, I know agent mode that I'm about to show you is only in the paid version, and I believe custom GPTs are only in the paid version as well. So if anybody wants to fact check that, feel free to drop it in the chat. All right, so within it, you'll see right similar to where we have projects. Over here, you see something that says GPTs. And I would click on explore, Okay. So now it gives you a lot, and some of you may or may not have known this, but there are a lot of GPTs that other people have and organizations have already created that you could pull in. So like there's one for Canva. There's one for, I have one I downloaded for if you're studying for the PMP, Project Management Professional exam, right? So there's tons of different ones. So I would start here with exploring, and then notice at the top right, there's a button here that says create. So I can create a GPT from scratch, okay? But what I want to do is go to my GPTs because I've already created one. And so every time you create your own GPT, it'll put it for you here. These are all the ones that I've created. So I've made ones for different use cases, okay? So I'm going to show you this ISO. I think this one will actually be a fun one. If you're doing any type of audits, whether it's ISO audit or so forth, you can create a way to automatically generate nonconformances. All right, so I'm going to show you this. Let me go in and edit this GPT so you can see what's in the background. So when you hit create GPT, it's going to bring you to a screen similar to this. All right, and I'm gonna stick over here on the configure side. You can feed it a picture or it'll generate a picture for you. I want to name it, of course. This is the name of it. Here's a description, and then instructions. So these instructions, this is your prompt, okay? And this is where prompting becomes very important in prompt engineering. Remember, we said the prompt is the basic building block for everything that you'll do. This is a pretty complicated prompt. Now, I did not come up with this prompt on my own, okay? You can actually go into the tool and say, help me create a prompt that I could use for a custom GPT that does the following. And it will actually help you write the prompt for that. Okay. So and that's what I did. And so it gives me roles and users, what it needs to produce. It gave me an output format. It's also going to give me some upfront questions that you may want to ask. I'll show you where those are in the finished version. It's going to give you some guidance. So it's mapping to the international organization standard high level structure. And then it's going to give you some rules, and we gave it some quality checks. Okay, so there's my prompt. I'm also going to give it some conversation starters. So that's what you see when you preview the model, these conversation starters that you're giving someone to start with. So maybe you don't know what to ask it, so you can feed it some conversation starters. And then if you have specific files, again, if you're trying to ground it, maybe you're building this for your team and you want to give it specific files, maybe a SOP format. All SOPs need to be output in a certain format, or a logo. So everything that you output needs to be on company logo. So you can upload files. And then I would say let it choose a model. Not feeding it a standard model, but within chat, same for Copilot, you can choose a model. And then here's these things will typically automatically be checked. Some capabilities, you want it to still be able to go to the web. You want it to be able to launch Canvas. And I won't have time to go into what Canvas is, but basically if you are, especially if you're creating work instructions, procedures and stuff, it'll put it on a larger screen for you instead of just this small chat box. And you want the ability to generate images. Okay. So with that, I can just create or update. You can share this, right? So you can keep it so that it is, you can make it available to anyone so that anyone can go into Explore and find it, or you can limit it to only people that have the link or that are within your organization. All right. And so just like that, you've created a custom GPT. All right. So real quick, let me go back over to the presentation. All right, because the next few slides is just walking you through just what I did there. But now I want to test it out. So let's say I'm using ISO 9001. I audited Acme Precision on a certain date, And these were the two non-conformances that I found. All right, so now I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it right into my custom GPT. All right. And it should be following all the rules that I put in that prompt. So it says, got it. Thanks for the input. And just like that, it's going to organize it for me like I asked it to. So it's giving me a summary table. So this is the relevant ISO requirement. This is what the non-conformance statement should look like. Um, Here are the affected units. If you're using majors and minors, right, it'll tell you whether it's a major or minor. That was for nonconformance 1, and then it does the same thing for nonconformance 2. Okay. Um, there's a little bit more over here, but let me see if I can copy this table. But let me see. There we go. I can scoot over and I can show you. And it's giving me objective evidence, all right, as well. All right, so then notice too, it also asked me, which I told it to, would you like a kappa template or a kappa skeleton? So yeah, help me even with developing corrective actions. So just if you ask it to, it will also develop a corrective action plan. So containment, your problem, and it's doing this all in the form of the standard that you fed it. So if you're using 9001, let's say you're using an environmental quality management, I'm sorry, an environmental management system or health and safety, right? You can use it for different ones. All right. So that's a good example of a custom GPT. All right. I'm so used to being in class and asking if does anybody have any questions. So, I'll stop for a bit. If you have questions, just type them in the chat or type them in the Q&A, preferably the Q&A, and we'll try to wrap back to it. All right, so then let's talk a little bit about agent mode. All right, so agent mode is a newer feature that's in ChatGPT. I have not seen this in Copilot. So if anybody has used it in Copilot or in Gemini or one of these other tools, please drop it in the chat. I've only seen this in ChatGPT myself, but it acts like a full service agent. So it can actually go out and research things for you. It can find information. It can build information. It can create information. So think of it like having somebody on your team that never sleeps, that knows your files, and can go out and get information. So you can ask it to do things like research, find 8 suppliers for nylon, right, and compare lead times and certifications. Find OSHA requirements that apply to powder coating, and then build a compliance checklist. So now this is different from just prompting because it's actually going to do it without you having to be engaged in that process. And I'll show you what that looks like. Now they tend to take a while to run in the background, so I probably won't have time to show you the actual screen that pops up, but I will show you some outputs, okay, from what I did prior to this webinar. So if you create a new create a new chat, and again, this is only in the paid version, okay? But if I go to create a new chat, notice this plus sign here where you would typically add files and information, photos. There's something here called agent mode. All right. And you only get a certain amount within a certain time frame, and then it resets. But I'm going to enter into agent mode. And then instantly it's gonna give you things that it can do. It's like, hey, I can go find a Las Vegas hotel for you and a flight package on Expedia. And again, it's going to launch this and you will see it working in the background on your behalf without you having to be engaged. It can write reports, right? So research carbon capture costs. It's giving you examples. It can do actions. Go create a list on Google Maps of the best bakeries in Copenhagen, right? Make a spreadsheet. All right. So make a reading list of the latest top Financial Times stories. And then it can build presentations, All right, so let me show you a few examples of what that might look like. I'm gonna try to launch it here, but let me just pick a fun one. Let's see, actions. Uh, No, I won't do that because it's gonna take a while, and I don't want it to actually go out and buy anything without me being aware. All right, so let me show you a few that I did before the webinar. All right, so here's a sample. I wanted to build. Our facility is working on becoming certified. I wanted to build an Excel spreadsheet of the best certification bodies closest to me in Raleigh who offer services on AS certification. They need to be cost effective and highly rated. So when I put this in the tool, it actually launches a window similar to this. And you will see the mouse working in the background. You will see the websites that it's accessing. It's actually going out there and pulling that data. And then it'll come back and tell you, hey, I worked for 9 minutes. So it tells you exactly how long it took. And then here's the spreadsheet that you requested. So let me show you at the end of it, this was the spreadsheet that I got from that. So it went out and gave me all the different certification. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. All the different certification bodies, their location, approximate distance from Raleigh, and then notable features about them. Right. So now I'm over here answering email, taking phone calls, doing other things, and it's actually working on my behalf, pulling this information. So that's the great part about having being in agent mode. Okay, another example, this one was really fun. I want to create a presentation on emerging AI technology in manufacturing. That's all I put in there. Very, very simple, high level prompt. So it's just getting me something to start with. And so again, it opened up a window, it went out, researched the information. Notice it, this one worked, this time it worked a little bit longer. It took 35 minutes. Okay, but it still did it on my behalf. I didn't have to go do it. And so just like that, this was the presentation that it returned. None of what you see in here did Adrian put in here. This was all the AI working on my behalf, building this presentation. Now, is it perfect? No, right? There's still a lot that needs to be cleaned up, but it at least gives you a framework to start from to be able to build it. Okay. So again, that's the beauty of the agent. It's out there working on your behalf. Okay. All right. So I want to make sure I save enough time for any questions or comments. So let me just move briefly into some just practical steps for adopting AI, kind of a crawl, walk, run process. But before I do that, here are some top AI agent platforms. If you really, really want to get into agents, what I showed you was kind of the simplest form of an AI agent, using agent modes in ChatGPT and using custom folders, say similar for Copilot. But I organized these from beginner to intermediate to advanced. So if you're just a beginner, here are some tools that you could use. Salesforce has an integrated agent force where you can has kind of a pre-built CRM language. Zapier is another really good tool. If you really want to get into using more design logic flows, maybe you go to Google's Project Mariner. Amazon Web Service has Bedrock agents. And then if you're just really rocking and rolling and you're comfortable with APIs and coding and scripting, Claude's Anthropic has a Claude Code. Manus is another really good one. So these are just some tools that you might want to think about. All right, so where can you start? So let's wrap this all into a roadmap. So again, adopting AI doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? So start with small steps and then grow. So maybe start with just prompt literacy. Help your team learn how to write good prompts. So this could be maybe learning how to convert notes to emails, or learning how to summarize a shift log, or write a work instruction like we tried. So maybe just come up with 5 starter prompts that you can give people to work with and practice with. May have a little 30, 60, 90-minute kind of hands-on session where you give people a cheat sheet, and then celebrate any quick wins that you have, right? Because we want to have people that are early adopters that can make other people feel comfortable. And the key metric here is, did we save time, and did we improve accuracy? And I think another real important metric too is, did we build trust? Are people starting to trust these tools a little bit more? All right. And then when you're ready, when you're past crawling, now you can learn to walk. So this is where you start using those task specific GPTs and co-pilots to help standardize your outputs. So you might build a GPT for quality or one for purchasing, so it can create some consistency. The key metric here to think about is, are we continuing to save time? But are we also seeing more consistent results? And can we share information across our teams and across our business? All right. And so then when you get comfortable with that, that's where you can really start to run. Okay. So now you're building integrated agents, and you're closing the loop between data, decision making, and taking action. All right. So imagine if you had predictive maintenance that could generate work orders for you, or you have AI that can flag a stock out before it happens. So that's where you're really starting to see some value. And just for your information, I included some tools that are really helpful, outside of what I showed you today. If you're really starting to get into integrated agents, so specifically for predictive maintenance, there are some tools out there. Siemens has a tool. Limbo has a really good tool for predictive maintenance. If you're looking for something that'll integrate into your ERP systems, Odoo is one that I hear a lot of people say good things about. Salesforce, if you're already using Salesforce, there's integrations there that you can use. And then scheduling, if you want to build these agents that can flag late jobs and notify stakeholders, Connect Team is a good one. And then my personal favorite is Monday.com. Can also do that as well. But at this point, you also want to have some really good guardrails in place. So think about change control, or version control. How do we make sure everybody's using the right and same version? Create some sandboxes where people can practice before you do a full rollout. And then think about data retention. Okay, so those are all helpful things as well. All right, so some key takeaways. Let's summarize, because I know I threw a lot at you this morning. So just to summarize, good prompts are going to equal better AI. Okay, just that's the basic building block. AI agents are becoming your new digital coworkers. Okay, they're not replacing people. We're just going to amplify your value and help you share things across teams. And then just start small, right? Grow with confidence. You don't have to come right out of the gate running, but just starting small is helpful. All right, so just to kind of pause and reflect, I want you to think about what's one crawl step that you could take within the next couple of weeks. So maybe just go in and practice setting up a workspace. Maybe you've not done that before, or test out a custom GPT, make something that you can use, or just maybe use the frameworks to create one new prompt a day until you get comfortable with it. The important thing is to start somewhere, even if you're starting small. All right. So with that, I will stop talking again. I know I threw a lot at you, but just thank you so much for your time and participation. I hope you received at least one or two takeaways that were helpful that you can start to implement now. Please reach out. I love, love, love to hear how companies are experimenting with AI and using AI. So with that, I'll open it up for questions and comments. And I also want to invite you, if you want to share one thing that you plan to do after this session, to start small, we'd love to hear it.
Thank you, Adrian. We do have a few questions.
Okay.
The first one is, how do we manage the balance between the model's default style and our own? In other words, what strategies help us either overcome the model's built-in tone or intentionally step away from our own style when needed?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And let me see if I can find it quickly in here, because you can actually set up a tone within and I think it's either in, yeah. So like if you're in now this is again specific to Chat GPT. So let me show you how I got there. So if you go to if you click on your face, your icon, and go to personalization, you can actually customize it um, to your tone, right? So use quick, clever humor when appropriate, be talkative, take a forward-thinking view. I've seen people get really creative with the type of custom instructions they feed the AI, and so you can use base styles and default kind of tones that you add to it, maybe professional or friendly, but you can also give it custom instructions, certain things to stay away from. I know the big thing people laugh about is the M dashes. If you use Chat GPT or any of these AI a lot, it loves to put M dashes on everything, So you can customize it to don't use M dashes, or so you can set it up to personalize it the way you need it to be every time you use it. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, Adrian, can I just get there too?
Yeah, please, Barbara. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and so you can also give it examples of how you write, right? You can upload um your writing style.
Hmm.
Did I glitch? I'm sorry.
But I can still hear you. Yep, you're
Okay,
fine.
yeah. So you can upload examples of your writing style and tell it to learn from that, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you can. And another thing, Barbara, as you use it more and more, it will start to get familiar with your writing style and with
Right.
your tone. That's right. Yeah. So it will learn the more you use it and will start to tailor things more according to how you like to answer things. And especially if you feed it examples, it'll help a lot with that. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, good.
All right, next question. Can we make a GPT interact with a cloud-based QMS application package?
Yeah, good question. So, I see that, Scott. Yeah, so the short answer is yes. Um, there are APIs, and I'm probably not the one to give you the all the rundown on it, but I know, and it'll depend on the package too. But yes, you can absolutely, if you're really good at kind of um, doing some application programming, you can build and blend like Chat GPT into another package that you use, another type of software that you use. But some of that will require some programming. Some of that will require a little bit higher level than what we went over here. But the short answer is yes. And if you're not sure, that's another thing you can ask. You can ask the AI, help me with how to integrate this to a specific software tool. Yeah. Um,
All
I
right.
see. Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Okay, so next question is, how much review do you still need to do to the results returned as far as vetting the accuracy of the data?
Yeah, that's another great question, and some of that I would say is specific to you. It'll depend on the task, the output, and it'll depend on just kind of your own comfort level. Some things you may feel comfortable simple things you may feel comfortable taking and using as is. But other things you may really want to spend some time kind of vetting the data. Again, the more you can ground it in real world data that you have versus sending it to go grab things off the internet, the better off you'll be. But yeah, it's really your comfort level. But I would say no matter what outputs you get, spend some time reviewing it to make sure it's correct and useful.
Okay. Next question. Do you need to provide a definition of one's cost-effective definition?
Yeah, so and I see that's Brian. So the more context you can give it, the better. So yeah, because you're right. If just saying something like cost effective, that's relative. So the more you can tell it about this is what cost effective means. Even those frameworks that I showed you, if I just put in there, use the SCORE framework to help me with such and such, there are times it may not understand that. So you may have to say, this is what SCORE means. So the more context and information you can give it, the better off you'll be for sure. Yeah.
Next question. How is the agent different from the normal chat mode when tasked with creating a presentation like that?
Yeah, good question, Michael. So the regular chat mode, you can ask it to create a presentation and it will, but a lot of times what you get back is maybe a template for a presentation. And then it'll ask you, maybe do you want me to take this template and put it into Word? It has a hard time putting it directly like into like a PowerPoint or something. But the agent mode actually created the PowerPoint presentation for me. And I wish I could have shown you. I'm just going to click on something just for maybe it'll come up and show. So like I'm in agent mode, I asked it to create a go-to-market strategy deck. Now, more than likely, it's not. We won't have enough time, but it'll start thinking, but then it'll actually bring up a window that where it see, oh yeah, perfect, so it's actually showing you. So see, this is the difference. When you're just in regular chat mode, it's just gonna it's kind of static. You give it a prompt, it's going to give you back a response. But in agent mode, this is the tool actually going out on the internet, pulling this information, and it's showing you exactly where it's pulling information from. And then when it's finished, it'll tell you how long it took. And you could be out working, doing something totally different. So yeah, that's the difference between the two. Yeah, great question.
All right. How can we import transfer projects between different ChatGPT and Copilot accounts?
That's a good question. Yeah, and I don't have a good answer for that, honestly. Um, so I'm sure there's a way you can download. Yeah, it's not really easy to do. And I have not tried to do that. If somebody has, feel free to put it in the chat. But if you are able to take prompts maybe that you've created in Chat GPT, and like I mentioned with the custom GPTs, the screen I showed you where to configure is very much similar to the same screen you will see in Copilot. So if you could share prompts and then maybe enter the same prompts, but honestly, I don't know of a really good way, easy way to share between different systems. Yeah, that's
And
a good one. I have to research that. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, Barbara.
can't we ask the tool?
You can, you probably can. I'm sure you probably can. At this point, you could probably ask it to help you pick the best spouse, and it can help you help you do that too, right? So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but good question. Yeah, any other question?
Adrian, there was one in the chat from
Okay.
Jason. Do the documents we load into our agent become public knowledge?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so if you have again like a lot, especially agent mode, you can only use if you have the paid version. And typically, and I know for Copilot, when you're creating custom GPTs, you have to have the paid version. So I was working with a company last week. They have Microsoft Copilot as part of their 365. And so everything that they do is stays within their organization. So I won't tell you that absolutely nothing, that nothing will leak, right? The hope is though, and the it's supposed to be, if you have the paid versions like the pro versions and the team versions of these tools, plus versions that it stays, the model is not using it to train on publicly, and the information is not public. So typically, but I would still be careful and have some policies around how much information and what types of information you put into these tools, so that people are level set on what things we do share and what things we don't. Yeah, so I would still want to have some like AI data use policies in place for that. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, and and I see somebody jumped in, Dan. Dan put his information in the chat. Looks like he can help with building integration. So yeah, there you go. There's a good networking opportunity there. And Google Workspace facilitates gem sharing. Okay, thank you. Awesome, Dan. Thank you for that. Yeah, any other questions? I know we're a little bit over time. Yeah. Well, again, I'll just put my information back up if you after this, if there's anything you want to any questions you want to ask, or if you want to connect, there's a lot of really good resources on our IES website as well. So I'll put that there for you. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or by email, and we can try to get you some answers if you have questions. All right. So with that, Susan, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
All right, Adrian, thank you so much. Appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you for being with us. We will be sending out the recap video recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation. Again, that comes from the IES Zoom user account, and look for that in the next day or two. In addition to the PowerPoint and the recording, there will be some additional resources included in that email, so we invite you to look at those as well. And we thank you again and look forward to seeing you at a future webinar. Thank you all.